The solar car is a all-encompassing, all-consuming pursuit. Everything else goes out the window. Girlfriend, parents, friends.
1, 2, 3.
Eating, sleeping, certainly.
It was worth it because it changed my life completely. When you make something and you can see it working, it's just amazing. Actually being out there and driving a car that you built yourself is just incredible.
Most of the students on our team find it really easy to find really great jobs when they graduate from Stanford. So we have folks that go into companies like Boeing or SpaceX, Tesla.
The solar car experience was the most important thing I did at Stanford. There will be classes that you took that you don't remember at all. But going to Australia and driving your car across the continent under the power of the sun and only under the power of the sun together with your friends is a defining experience that you will remember until the day you die.
So I'm really excited to be here today. We're here to celebrate our 25-year history at the Stanford Solar Car Project. The Stanford Solar Car Project was founded in 1989 here at Stanford by some really driven engineering students. It's an entirely student-run group. What we do is we design, build, test, and then finally race solar-powered vehicles. So we compete every 2 years in something known as the World Solar Challenge. It's a really large event held in Australia. We are required to drive 2,000 miles across the entire Australian outback, just using solar power alone. It's a really competitive event. It's really difficult. This past race was one of the most exciting in our recent history. Our latest car, Luminos, which raced in the 2013 World Solar Challenge, this very grueling race, it did very well.
Hands on the car, hands on the car.
We're here at the start of the 2013 World Solar Challenge. Over the next couple of days, our team will be driving around 2,000 miles across the Australian outback. We think we have a very robust vehicle that's also efficient. So we're looking for a top 5 finish hopefully in this year's race.
The race itself has teams from about over 20 other countries. It allows you to see that there are like really good engineers and meet really good engineers from every country and every continent in the world.
Hi, it was good, totally.
And I really think that's a really cool part of the experience.
This year we had 15 or 16 team members from Stanford. They're participating in the race.
I do love World Solar Challenge. It's so pure as a race. Just point A to point B, first one there wins. Point A to point B happen to be 2,000 miles apart across the most inhospitable land on the planet. I love that.
I found that I really like collaborative engineering. I have a lot of fun because I get to work with a lot of really smart people at Stanford.
I'm a rising sophomore at Stanford. I'm majoring in mechanical engineering.
Try going a few degrees more vertical. Okay, stop.
I've actually taken 3 quarters off for solar car. I will finish in 5 years, which will be 12 quarters of school. And my major is computer science.
I'll be a 5th-year senior when I get back from this race in computer science.
So I'm an economics major at Stanford, and I've been spending the last 2 years working on this vehicle, Luminos, and I also raced with the team in 2011.
There are 3 classes that compete in the World Solar Challenge. The class that we competed in is the Challenger class, and that is straightforward racing. You have one person in the car, you're trying to go as fast as you can.
All the teams begin in Darwin, which is on the northern coast of Australia. And from there on, the teams are racing head-to-head to Adelaide, which is the finish line of the race. Darwin, Australia is a very special place in the minds of a lot of people on our team. It's in the subtropics, so it's hot, it's humid, there's a lot of mosquitoes and other bugs. And then on top of that, there's crocodiles, plenty of dangerous, poisonous things. We usually set up ourselves in a hostel. The majority of our time in Darwin is spent at a racetrack called Hidden Valley, focused on doing last-minute preparations for the race itself.
I'm Max Praslin from the Stanford Solar Car Project. I'm an electrical engineer on the project, and I've been working with the team for about 2.5 years.
I joined actually about exactly a year ago, and just the fact that I'm here in Australia now is pretty crazy.
In the World Solar Challenge, the teams that place in the top 3 will actually receive recognition in a big medal. So basically, the gold, silver, and bronze teams are kind of the top teams the next 2 years throughout the globe. For the last 6 or so races, there's been 2 teams that have traded back and forth winning the World Solar Challenge. The Dutch team, Nuon, and also the Japanese team, Tokai. And then the University of Michigan is also another top team. They've consistently been in the top 3.
There's always naturally a little bit of a competition between Michigan and Stanford. We were focused on them. We wanted to beat them. They wanted to beat us. That's a good rivalry. Michigan is a fantastic team, and Michigan provided all the incentive we needed to sort of pull those extra late nights.
We were kind of in the dark with respect to Twente. We had gotten to know these guys, and they're really funny people.
Yeah, definitely one of the fastest teams in the whole race. Very good team, master students in the Netherlands. They take a year and a half off to do it. They build a beautiful car, races very fast.
One of the cool things about our team is that we're completely student-run, and our university involvement is really there to support us, not to direct us. A lot of these other teams are run by professors. They're either completely or mostly grad student composed, and it was really cool for us to see how these other teams are run that were really a lot older than us, a lot more experienced.
Right now we're at Darwin Showgrounds, where they're staging the event Scrutineering, where all the teams that are competing in the race this year go through about 4 hours of regulation checks with the officials for the race.
Not related to famous Henry Ford by any chance?
Not that I know of.
I mean, it's worth having a look.
One of the first stations that our team goes through is a battery check station. At high noon, when the sun is high above the sky, our team will use a solar array to charge those batteries, so that at the end of the day and in the early morning when the sun is low in the sky, we can still cruise at the same speed using the extra energy stored in our battery pack.
I'm curious to see what other teams have for their battery packs. Most teams keep them pretty under wraps. This was just a station to go through and you put orange string across the pack so that if we were to tamper with any cells, it would be obvious that something had happened. It's just sort of a safety check that they have, that teams are following the rules. Hopefully in the course of the race, we'll never open the battery pack again, and we'll open it in Adelaide, and the string will still be on, no problems.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lovely looking.
Thank you.
Delighted to see it, so good luck in the event.
Great, thanks.
I'm expecting big things of you.
We'll see, we've been practicing. One of my main projects was building the battery pack mechanically. Max Praglin did the electronics, and Rachel Fenichel did the code.
Merry Christmas, have a battery pack.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got it.
You start the race with a full pack. You're fully charged in Darwin, and you end the race with an empty pack. So some days later. So you don't discharge to 0 every day, and you don't recharge to full every day.
My other role on the team as of recently has been working on our race strategy, and part of that is having good models of the car. So I've worked very carefully to identify how the car performs in different conditions, and then use that information to decide how fast we drive the car.
If you go faster, you're actually burning quite a bit more. Sometimes it'll be better to go faster by 1 kilometer an hour over a long period of time, rather than faster by 5 or 10 over a short period. It depends on what your strategy guys are saying you should do. It depends on what you think the weather will be ahead and whether you have to outrun clouds, stuff like that.
3, 2, 1, go.
One of the more fun parts of scrutineering is the driver egress test, whereupon the driver must be seated inside the car with their seatbelt on and get out of the car, and I believe it's 12 seconds.
So out of the car.
But the way it works is you get locked in the car and you have your harness on and your helmet on and the radio, and they give you a countdown.
3, 2, 1, go.
And then timer starts and you have to get out all by yourself. A lot of things could go wrong that would require a driver to get out of the car immediately. Most obvious being some sort of a fire in either electronics or the battery systems, which do happen. With Luminos, it was pretty easy to get in and out of.
Some folks actually have to transform from designers to race car drivers, like Anna Olsen. One of the roles that you played in Australia was that of driver. And can you explain for everybody, what is the experience like of driving Luminos?
One of the most challenging parts about driving the solar car is that it's extremely boring. Your only job is to sit there and keep the car between 2 straight lines on the road. There's basically no air movement inside the car. You're basically sitting in a little black carbon fiber box. It's definitely unpleasant, objectively speaking, but at the same time, you're driving a solar car across Australia. That part never gets old for me.
Our organization has kind of a dual purpose between providing educational experience for the students on the project and making a really high performance vehicle. should I redesign this? Should I do something new? It would be a little more educational for my members. So really navigating the trade-off between good race performance and doing things that are new is probably the toughest challenge.
My name is Alex Tilson. I'm a 1992 graduate of Stanford. So I was at the very first meeting that the Stanford Solar Car Project has ever had. It was freshman year, 1989. No one had built a solar car before.
It's the first drive we're doing in Australia.
I was the first to take the car to Australia and the World Solar Challenge in November of '93, where we were 13th, I believe, out of 40 that started roughly. And that remained the Stanford speed record across Australia for 20 years, much to our surprise. The teams that went subsequently didn't finish. I know at our company, our entrepreneurial success, I partially relate back to the solar car experiences. It taught me a lot as a leader, taught me a lot as a manager, taught me a lot as an entrepreneur, taught me a lot as an engineer.
You know, the solar car team and technologies are usually ahead of their time in terms of looking at the next best generation of batteries, the best solar panels, best motors and efficient converters, things like that. Most of my involvement with the solar car team was toward the end of when I was at Stanford. I had many friends that were part of that team throughout my time there, and I recruited most of the people from the team when we started Tesla, and was a key thing in the beginning of Tesla. I think it matters more than most classes you can take. I mean, it's one of the things that even today at Tesla we look at on resumes and place it higher than perhaps GPA, or even perhaps higher than what classes they've decided here and there.
So the process of getting our solar car from basically a blank sheet of paper with no ideas yet to having a vehicle that can be ready to race across the Australian outback takes our team about 18 months. It's a very quick cycle. We'll spend about 3 months doing preliminary design work. Once we get to the mid-fall, we'll start doing some of the manufacturing work. The vast majority of the components of the vehicle we actually manufacture here on the Stanford campus. For example, the carbon fiber composites, we ramp that up in the late fall going into the winter. Basically the entire vehicle's composite monocoque chassis and exterior shell is made out of carbon fiber. We have a lot of titanium components on the vehicle. We have very high efficiency solar cells on the top of our vehicle and the solar array. And our team usually spends about 2 or 3 months doing testing here in California for the most part. For example, we'll spend a lot of time in the Central Valley where there's a lot of open farmland where our team can do testing that's a lot more similar to the Australian outback. We've also done some wind tunnel testing in the past, even out in North Carolina.
Key word for that cycle is testing, testing, testing. We actually put the full length of the race on the car in test miles in the United States, which is a challenge most teams haven't been able to accomplish.
This year our team was very fortunate in that we had a couple hundred great sponsors that supported our team. Altogether, the program this cycle had about $1.6 million worth of parts and cash that were donated to our program. Of that, maybe $400,000 was cash, and the rest were parts that were donated to our team. For example, Panasonic was one of our big sponsors this year that provided battery cells for our vehicle.
So the Stanford team assembled hundreds of our cells into various blocks. Those blocks were assembled into a battery pack, and they did all of the integration themselves, complete with a battery management system. And this is an amazing effort considering these are young adults, many of them not even officially graduated yet, and being able to pull this off was really, I think, quite magical.
Another one of our big sponsors was ST Microelectronics that provided a lot of the integrated circuits for our vehicle this cycle.
These microprocessors are kind of the center of what our software team works on. And this is a little integrated circuit that we use on pretty much every circuit board on the car. The invisible software that just makes everything on the car work and have all the different elements on the car talk to each other.
We've been sponsoring it for, I believe, 6 years now, okay, and we'll continue to support it because now we're very involved, right? And it actually goes quite fast. I accelerated. I thought I'd scare the crowd by driving at them, and they got the message, get out of the way. This way. It was great. No, it was good fun, good experience. What I was fascinated by was how they do everything on this car from scratch. It's an amazing achievement for undergraduates. They have to still study and get their homework in, as we all know, okay, on time, and get their projects done. At the end of the day, it's also a lot of fun. And I think that's what comes across. They really enjoy it and they're very enthusiastic. And that's it. And like all semiconductor companies, there's a method in our madness. We're a European company. We're in the middle of California. What better place to become famous is with the next generation of engineers, right? Catch them early, as they say. So it's a fantastic project to be involved in. It really is. It's better than even I expected. I mean, people have been telling me about it for years, but now I've been up close and personal, if you like. It's impressive, really impressive.
For the summer, our big deadline in the sand was to get the car in a boat 7 weeks before we needed it in Australia. Usually our team will ocean ship our car because that's the most cost-effective way. This last year I tried to make a big effort to try to find a corporate sponsor that could support our team with air shipping, but I had very little success for months on end until I got some inroads with Virgin Australia and Virgin Atlantic.
Air shipping is something we always talked about doing, but it's hard. And Wesley manages all in the background to get this sponsorship. It reinforces the opinion that he's magical.
Wesley was amazing at logistics.
So solar car, turn left here. Okay, solar car, clear to proceed. Beautiful.
Greg was great for technical advice, knowledge, and they were just both fun people to be around.
Coffee. Greg. Coffee.
They did a fantastic job.
So with our team, we definitely have a lot of very passionate, strong personalities.
Because the thing is, every time water drips out, we're wasting water.
But fortunately, this year we had a very strongly knit group of students that were out in Australia. By the time we got to the race, we were really functioning as a well-oiled machine.
The car is still on?
Fortunately for us, Stanford University provides cash support, but we still operate on a pretty tight budget when we're in Australia.
We weren't dining out every night, but no, we're not starving. And also, this is partly because the team tries to put most of our money into racing. You can live on PB&J for a while.
The one large expense that our team members have to personally cover is the flight ticket to Australia. And for many members of the team, that's a barrier that prevents folks from being able to go to Australia to experience racing in the outback. In addition to the solar car itself, our team has a convoy of vehicles that we use to support the race car. So this year Volkswagen provided us with 4 vehicles to use, and our team picked up those vehicles in Melbourne, Australia. The first vehicle that we have in our convoy we call the Scout car. For one, the Scout vehicle is responsible for collecting live weather data just ahead of our team and reporting that back to the rest of the convoy. They'll also report if there's any kind of new road hazards we wouldn't expect.
Australia does have a lot of kangaroos, and they're actually primarily nocturnal creatures, so they'll kind of get attracted to this road surface at night when the road is warm and the weather's cooled down a bit. And the problem with this is that there's road trains, these 3 or 4 trailer long semi-truck configurations. What they have adopted is, they'll call them roo guards, where it's just a steel grate in front of the truck. They won't stop because they can't stop, and they'll just run these kangaroos down it. And it happens, there's roadkill on the road, and we have to navigate that the next day.
The next vehicle in the convoy is called the lead vehicle, and this vehicle will run maybe 500 yards in front of the solar car itself. And then just behind the solar car is the chase vehicle. And the chase vehicle is usually kind of the headquarters of our race convoy. And then the final vehicle that we have in our convoy is our trailer vehicle, which we use to carry all of our tents, all of our camping gear, and also some of our race equipment as well. All the teams today got a chance to race their cars around the Hidden Valley racetrack, and the team's racing time on the racetrack is what the officials use to determine the grid order for this year's race.
Well, it's a little bit nerve-wracking to be the one doing the hot lap, just because the whole team's kind of counting on you. Everyone's worked really hard to get us here.
The Stanford team did very well. We came in with a 2-minute, 7-second race time. That was the 3rd fastest in the challenge class. So that means that we'll be placed 3rd car at the start of the grid for this upcoming race.
So the day before the race, I felt ready, and I know a number of other people on the team have also felt ready.
I've been doing solar car for 4 years, and this is probably my last shot at it.
So today is race day. It's a little surreal to be here.
We're all obviously very pumped up, a lot of adrenaline flowing. None of us have slept all night, waking every hour in anticipation of the day. We're just really excited. It's going to be a great race and a wonderful way to see Australia.
We hope to win.
I'm excited, our team's excited.
Feeling good, got a good night of sleep, and we're ready for a long race.
You kind of start to reflect a little bit on 18 months of everything. I mean, the sleepless nights, the joy of something working, the bickering about what is the best design, what's not the best design, just the agony and the ecstasy of it all. So my parents have decided to come to be the, as they call it, drive the chuck wagon for the team.
Like my wife says, we're chief cooks and bottle washers. We're making sure that the team stays full.
We're the cookies.
They'll be making our food and just handling the food logistics for the whole trip. The nice thing about that is it means the team doesn't have to worry about food. They can take a big chunk of work off of the team and leave us to sleep and make sure the car goes really fast.
Really excited. It's been a long process, and here we are. The door was, at Thanksgiving 2 years ago, was a piece of cardboard, and he was, designing it. So it's just fun to see it go from the idea to this.
The other guy that came was named David Olson. He was a fantastic asset to have because he knew outback weather really well.
I believe that at the present time we're looking at some bad weather towards the last day, what we hope to be the last day of the race. If we can get there and fast enough, we should be able to avoid the worst of it.
And then if we don't go fast enough, we could run into some bad weather near Adelaide. With a solar panel, you can see your power drop to near zero with a cloud in front of the sun. And we think that if there's enough sun, that we should be able to have enough energy in our batteries to make it down to Adelaide. But it's really kind of a scary game to play when you don't know if you're going to make it to the very end.
I'll be driving the first shift, which is exciting, but it's probably one of the more complicated shifts just because you're in real city traffic. The nice thing is I've got, the convoy knows what to do, we're rehearsed at this, we've done this, we're ready to go racing.
On the first day of the race, the teams are released off the starting line every 30 seconds or every minute or so.
Getting out of Darwin was quite an adventure, and there were a lot of teams. It was just very dense traffic, a lot of passing, very chaotic.
Over the course of the race, there's 9 or 10 control points that teams hit in the biggest cities on the Stewart Highway every few hundred miles. The biggest cities might be a city with a population of 30. As the teams come in, their racing clock will stop for a period of 30 minutes, so teams can buy food and water for the next day of racing, refuel their escort vehicles. So at this control point, we'll do a little bit of work on the car that's a little bit superficial, so things like checking for bugs on the array, making sure the tire pressure is okay.
Basically, the thing is that you want to evaporatively cool the array, and as they heat up, then we start spraying them. We use deionized water or demineralized water because it means that we're not leaving residue on the array.
Yeah, getting a little more power than expected.
Nuon, which is a team from the Netherlands, their car Nuna 7 has concentrators in it. So these are magnifying devices, and that gets them a lot of extra power. It's legal. You do get a lot more sunlight onto every cell.
Nuna and Twente are in front of us. We passed Michigan a short while ago.
Michigan.
Yeah,
Michigan's way back. They just pulled in. Yeah.
So we have pretty good sun coverage right now. There's a bit of clouds, but based on our weather data, the clouds should clear up pretty soon, and hopefully we'll have clear blue skies between here and the next control point. As the teams continue for the rest of the day of racing, before they get to the end of the race day at 5 p.m. each day, they'll have to try to scout out a place to spend the night. So what the team will do is quickly pull their vehicle to the side of the road, and then oftentimes what they'll do is they'll take their array of the car, the solar panels, and try to prop them up so they can point the solar panels directly at the sun for the last final hours of the day.
Finally being in the race was definitely exciting, although that sort of wore off after the first hour, and then it was just a struggle to keep wiping the sweat off your face, and but it was a good time.
3, 2, 1, up.
We're fourth now currently, and ahead of Michigan. I got to pass Michigan and looked over and grinned at their car while we were driving by.
And as long as we stay in front of Michigan, we'll be happy for now.
ミシガンの前で撮りたいその走りたいからその後
今僕らミシガン
Well, is Michigan back behind? Is that it?
Yes, Michigan is just down the road a little ways behind us.
Oh, we didn't see them. We missed them.
Oh no.
Good to know.
We set up the array stand, picking a position where we're going to get the most sun that we can.
We need to rotate the back of the car closer to me.
What they can say is, okay, I think that you should go up by this amount, and that's kind of eyeballing it based on angles that we can see.
All right, that's pretty good.
But then after they say, I think we should do this, they can actually check. We have a telemetry system, and so we're getting data from the car directly to a laptop.
I can see the numbers.
They can say, okay, we're getting 5 more watts than we had last time, so this is a good angle.
Ready for food. And then looking forward to the stars out in the outback. That's one of the coolest parts about camping out here.
We wake up before the sunrise, we get the array stand out, we push it upright and we point directly at the sun. And then what people do is we adjust the angle of it back as the sun goes up, still keeping it pointed directly at the sun.
It was nice to camp in front of Michigan for the night. We'll see how long that trend can hold. But overall things went really well yesterday, despite it being a very stressful and hot day. We were happy with how things turned out. The car's doing really well so far.
Are we good in the rear fairings, guys?
Fairings are the way we make the car aerodynamic around the wheels. So the fairings come down off of sort of the main body of the car and shroud the suspension, the brakes, and the wheel and the motor. And so the fairings are something you need to be able to get on and off to change tires. We took the fairings on and off a lot of times.
Razor. Cut it? This is not on very well.
No, you need to redo it. No, it's flush in the front.
Okay, cut it. Toby, hurry!
Our team makes a large investment in ensuring that the people that go to Australia understand their roles and have a good sense of unity with their team members. There's definitely other teams that may have a lot more drama, so as much as we can, we try to avoid any kind of conflicts we would have at the last minute when it comes down to actually racing across the outback. It wasn't really until all the cars were out in the race course we really knew how our team was going to stack up against Michigan and the Dutch teams and the Japanese teams that had often beaten us in years past. This year, the Stanford team had a couple of alumni from our project that were tagging along with our team, most of which were from Google actually. They were rooting our team along. They were also doing some recruiting at the same time.
What SolarCar does do that's really good is it's just the absolute best training ground for new engineers to really get some experience under their belts before going off into the world.
The last few people who have joined the Google X, well, self-driving team mostly, have been from like the Michigan SolarCar team, the Minnesota SolarCar team, and the Stanford SolarCar team. I guess I should say that SolarCar is about like 95% of the reason why I got my job.
It's pretty hot. The car's feeling pretty good though. It's pretty stable. It feels good.
And about how long were you driving and about how many kilometers?
About 5 hours.
We're pretty happy with where we are right now. If you'd said 2 years ago that we'd be here, we probably would not have believed you.
Yeah, we're excited to be top 5 so far. Really happy with how the car's doing. No major problems, no. Not yet. You never know.
Today I'll be the driver in the afternoon, going from Tennant Creek, where we currently are, down to just a little shy of Tea Tree, it looks like. I haven't seen the latest models, but last I'd heard we'd be pretty close to there tonight. We're in the outback now, and you can kind of tell. So it's a little more sane driving. You can run your own race now as opposed to having to jockey with other teams a whole bunch. So it's a little more relaxed in that sense.
Jamie, do you have a hammer?
Yep. So we're camping up for the night and getting ready to eat some steak.
How's this? That's half a beef.
Michigan's still an undetermined but few kilometers behind us. So that's kind of fun to still be this close at that point. And Twente, we think, is about 20 to 25 minutes ahead of us. It's nice to be within 30 minutes of a podium at the moment.
Good morning, sir. We're gonna have to have a lot of people though to make sure it doesn't. It's gonna want to tilt like this and hit the tail.
Famous Outback recipe. Ready for flipping? Yeah.
It's containing kangaroo.
Yeah,
these
I
pancakes.
got the baby wallaby batch.
Baby wallaby batch.
Yes,
okay. Yeah.
They're good.
Dude, they're mad tasty.
The food has been very good. I definitely can't say I was expecting to eat this well in the middle of nowhere. On this laptop, I have a set of graphs and numbers that are reading live data off the car.
Say solar car passing on the right.
And the idea is that by looking at the live data off of the car, I can match that up to our predictions that we've made. So within a few minutes of noticing that we have more power in our battery than we had originally planned, I can look at our numbers, see what speed we should go to kind of match our predictions.
The biggest city that our team hits over the course of the race is Alice Springs, which is right in the center of Australia.
The Stanford team is well over halfway through the race now. We've been cruising anywhere between 85, just over 85 kilometers an hour on a daily basis right now, which is fast for our car, fast for a lot of teams.
All right, brakes.
My name's Peter Collins. My duties as an observer is to observe the activities of the team and record anything that might be a little bit out of the abnormal and pass it on to the officials. So since leaving Darwin, I've been with 3 different teams. It's good fun, and of course coming home with all the teams is a wonderful experience because you do meet some young people who are our future, and I think it's rather exciting to see them at work.
Oh, you found some wood. Got the Barbie going. So yeah, if they're little, you don't. If they're, we're just trying to get them more like half size.
9, 10, perfect.
I cut the carrots, and I got somebody to cut the broccoli. We're having curry tonight. I'm done.
On the fire and see what happens.
Our team is aware of some teams that have probably dropped out at this point in the race. There's 2 Dutch teams, then 1 Japanese team that are still ahead of our vehicle. But in terms of the competition behind us, we're pretty far ahead.
This one's got a few cuts, but nothing troubling.
Anna, check.
Yeah.
You check.
Everything has been going very well so far. The car has not broken down. We've been sticking within a few kph of our projected speed from the first day. We have plenty of battery pack. There's a lot of good sun right now. It looks like we're going to keep up a tailwind until we get towards the coast. And from there, it's kind of questionable what will happen. We're looking at a storm system kind of rolling in from the ocean when we arrive in Adelaide. So looking forward to another day of driving really fast.
We had really strong tailwinds going into Cooper Pedy, so not all cars are built to handle these kind of a winds. Unfortunately, one of the cars, University of Michigan, crashed today going into a control stop. Unfortunately, they're okay, but it's unclear what their status is in terms of racing. But that'd be a pretty big upset for them. They've been the fastest American team for about 2 decades. We started the day 45 minutes behind Twente and are now 5 or 6 minutes behind them. It's cool to be right up there, you know, neck and neck with another team. It's pretty weird after, you know, 2,600 kilometers to be right on someone's tail.
I think everyone is starting to get a bit tired of camping in the outback. I haven't taken a shower since the morning of the race, which would be 4 mornings ago. And we're soon coming up on some very fly-heavy areas. I'm not a fan of the flies.
Tomorrow's going to hopefully be our last day of racing.
The next day we knew it was going to be cloudy, but it was a question of how much cloudy we would have to deal with and when and where the rain might hit us. This was a photo of us huddled around our laptops trying to decide what we were going to do on the last day of the race. So our decision that night was that if we got any bit of sun in the morning, we would try to catch Twente. And that meant that we were going to throw all of our best practices for race strategy out the window. And this was kind of a calculated gamble. We knew that if we caught them, it would be worth it. And if we didn't catch them and ran out of energy, we might be stuck on the side of the road.
Good gamble, makes it fun, makes it exciting, makes it really, really freaking stressful on the last day.
So that last day, waking up 6 minutes behind Twente was definitely exhilarating. We figured they probably had more on the battery pack than we did, but we wanted to keep pressure on them, hoping they would make a mistake. We know they were worried about us. It was really fun to be in an active race that late in the game against a team that we all respect so much.
We had a short drive from the place that we had camped the night before to Port Augusta.
We're at the last control stop right now. The Solar Team Twente is in 3rd place and we're about 10 to 15 minutes behind them. So right now we just kind of have to brave this terrible weather.
But our team was trying to get the last potential wattage out of our solar array. So we had our team propping our vehicle up to get a bit more sunlight to improve the power output of the solar panels.
Hey Wesley, what time do we leave again, just so we know?
It's really going to be a race to Adelaide. Don't know if we have enough sun to get there. Don't know if they do. If we got 0 sun, we surely won't make it to Adelaide. It's about 200, 300 kilometers from here. It's just a question of how fast do we go to try to save some energy. It's a high stress time right now.
And after the 30 minutes were up, we had to jump in our convoy vehicles and try to chase down the Dutch team that was just ahead of us.
So the rules of the race dictate that we must always be traveling at least about 35 miles an hour when we're on the road. And for the last day, we went about 35 the entire way.
The most stressful point in that drive from Port Augusta to Adelaide was when the motor had started to cut out already, meaning that it was very low in battery pack. And we're coming up to the largest grade on that section of the track or the race course, and we were at the bottom of it. And it was raining very hard. My vision was highly obscured by fog, so I couldn't see very well. About halfway up, I realized, uh-oh, we're not really gonna make it. Luckily, there was a little rest stop and a pull-out at the top of the hill. I personally needed to use the facilities as well as wipe out the condensation inside the cockpit, but once we got to the top, it was literally downhill from there.
Fortunately, we only had to stop twice briefly. Unfortunately, the Dutch team Twente ahead of us had a bit more energy, and they were able to pull away from us on the final day of racing.
I feel really great. We just finished with the car. We became 3rd. We were pretty close at Stanford, and they were constantly like 15 minutes behind us. It was such a pleasure to race with them.
So I was really happy that we got a little bit of sun in those last 30 minutes or so that were able to drive us through the finish line. So my first error was stopping apparently about 6 inches short of the line. It was a really nice culminating experience, getting 4th place. Last drive I'll ever have in a solar car.
To America's #1 solar car team!
Made it! Yeah! 3,000 kilometers! Yeah.
Got a little shaky at the end, but trucked on through.
Awesome. Like, we're the first team to finish for Stanford in forever, and we did it properly. We didn't break down.
I'm going to take a nice long shower and get rid of this red Outback dust all on me. And then I'm going to take a long nap.
Yeah! I'm so excited. So happy. I was so nervous. Nail biter. It was a nail biter.
Feeling relieved. Fourth place, best finish ever, I think, for Stanford, so couldn't be much happier.
Great. We're at the finish line, end of timing, and we're very, very happy.
More flies!
The next car we expect to have here on the finish line will be the Stanford Solar Car project from the United States.
So what happens here is the chief energy scientist checks all the battery seals.
Thank you very much. I like this pack, it's nice. Not a speck of dust or anything on it. Congratulations, it's a very nice pack.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really good.
The team this year did very well. We're very happy with our results and having the best finish in Stanford's history.
It was fabulous what they did. The team had been in a 20-year Australia rut, and we're thrilled that the team went and obliterated the '93 Stanford performance and beat Michigan. Really was the top all-student team in the world. Hats off to Wesley for heading it up and for everyone else for being a pivotal part of it as well.
There's also usually an award that goes to teams that are recognized for their, spirit in the event itself.
The 2013 Bridgestone World Solar Challenge, the David Fuchak Spirit of the Event Award, is presented to Stanford.
And that's just an effort to recognize teams that are doing something special to make the World Solar Challenge really an exciting and fun event for everyone involved.
And this award is yours just as much as it is ours. Thank you, everyone.
I would easily rank the Stanford Solar Car experience as my top experience I've had here at Stanford, but there's still some lingering stress, I can say, from the last year and a half, and I'm sure I've taken months, if not years, off my lifetime by the amount of stress that I've gone through.
One of the reasons that you can kind of justify to yourself putting so much time in it is because it's kind of something that society needs a little bit. So beyond just the educational thing, there's also a cool kind of showing society what's possible, you know?
Maybe this much in energy to get from Darwin to Adelaide to start out.
Almost 2,000 miles
yeah,
on a few bucks of energy if you were charging it off the grid. So
it's not a bad deal.
Yeah, it's not a bad deal.
After I got back from being in Australia, I began my job search to find a full-time career, and I just recently joined Google working on their self-driving car project.
What do you need?
Right.
So I'm graduating in June, going up to Yosemite for a week to relax, vacation, and go hiking. And then I'm going to start working at Google X, writing code as a full-time job.
This just isn't flat. Yeah, I was working at Tesla the spring and summer leading up to the race. So now I'm full-time at Tesla in the battery design engineering group. There's no question that I would not have gotten my very first internship at Tesla without what I learned at Solar Car.
I certainly hope that the university continues to, put resources behind this and also stay out of the way enough to provide a place that students can really have that freedom so they can, push the boundaries, fail occasionally, learn from the failures, make mistakes. That was one of the, I think, instrumental parts of Solar Cars. There was never a safety net to prevent you from making really bad mistakes. And you learn amazingly quickly in an environment like that.
It's a little bittersweet to see it finally end, but I'm glad I got to go out on a very high note like this, and I have so much confidence in the people that are coming up. We just had such a great group of young people join this year. The team's in great hands. Can't wait to see what comes next.
That's what's really incredible about this experience to me, is that you join as a wide-eyed undergrad with no concept of anything that you think would be useful to the car at all, and then eventually you realize that at some point between Australia and where we are now, the wand has been passed down, and it's our turn to build a solar car.
They're sleek, they're cutting edge, they're top secret, and they're worth millions of dollars each.
It's a beauty. I'll take two.
They're concept cars. And before you can hop into your SUV or travel in your sports coupe across country, your vehicle starts here as an over-the-top prototype that can make even the most difficult-to-please consumer drool.
That car is hot. Very hot.
Auto manufacturers spend fortunes to grab your attention and hold it. And with everything from the powerhouses of the future to the zero-emissions vehicles of the next generation and some of the wildest things to ever roll on four wheels, you're gonna travel to places you never thought possible as we take you behind the scenes and behind the wheel of the world's most extraordinary concept cars.
Design and sculpting and art and mixing with technology in a fun new way.
I come to see what's happening in the future.
Every year, auto manufacturers unveil the latest models of sports cars, sport utility vehicles, hybrids, trucks, even motorcycles. Right here.
They're all over the world. Japan uses car shows for the same reason, and so do the Germans and the Swedish and the English and the Italians. It's a great way of finding out what the public likes.
It's beautiful.
We'll see. I don't know. I may have to work a second job, but we'll see.
Second, third, who cares?
And if you travel to an auto show, you'll see it's like a debutante's ball for some of the newest designs and most advanced automotive technology. They're also where car designers reveal to the world incredible ideas for the future.
When we roll out a new concept, it's very much like opening night for a movie.
We expose them at various auto shows around the world where we have our toughest critics, the journalists, the buying publics, and our fellow designers.
Where else can you take a peek at concept dream machines like the super chic Mercury Messenger or the Chevrolet SS Concept that looks like a modern-day hot rod? You might be asking yourself, where can you buy one of these tricked-out fantasy cars? The answer? Nowhere. But why would an auto manufacturer spend tens of millions of dollars to build something they'll never sell?
Why do we build concepts? Well, that's a good question. One, because they're fun. And we need to test ideas, to ourselves, the engineering value, can we come up with something new and make it better? But we also need to test the ideas to the public.
They're trying to find out what the public, the people that are buying their cars and trucks, think about the concept. Does it make sense? Do we really think the public is going to embrace this new concept?
It's this huge experimental test to kind of get an idea for what people want, what they like.
Nice booty, I like it. And concept cars cover just about every emotion. You never want to stop smiling while you're traveling? Then take a look at one of the craziest concepts straight from Japan. If you think it looks like a box, that's because it is.
Right now, there's a trend among Toyota and Honda for coming out with boxes, coming out with cubes. It's kind of hop in this thing and bring all your stuff with you.
If you're concerned that your next car might have too many blind spots, open your eyes wide. Almost every inch of this concept car is a window. It's designed for urban driving, small, electric-powered, and when you finally get that hard-to-find parking space, just unload your very own scooter to make getting around town quick and easy. And if you're wondering, when is this vehicle going to be put on the market? Let's just say your grandchildren might be lucky to take their driver's test in this thing. This car may look strange, but it's a bold statement in a whole new era of innovation.
You're seeing Japanese cars that are starting to look Japanese. They're just saying, hey, this is what they're going to look like. If you don't like it, tough.
Talk about taking chances. How about a car that not only interacts with you, but has emotion too? Meet the Toyota Pod. You steer it with a joystick, just like a video game. See that poking out the back? It's not an antenna, it's a tail. And when you start it up, it wags to show you it's ready to go. Running out of gas, the car's exterior lights turn blue. Fill it up, golden. And with personalized interactive GPS, you're gonna feel more like you're walking your dog than driving a cold piece of steel. These are cute, fun, but who would want to buy them, and why?
The jury's still out. We don't know whether young people are going to want inexpensive cars that have a certain style and function, or style and pizzazz, versus the boxes that are being designed now that are pure function. And it's going to take a while to find out.
A lot of times, despite your best intentions as a car maker, the public looks at it and goes, are you kidding me?
So whether you love it or you think it's just plain weird, almost every concept car is going to make you take notice. And that's exactly what car makers want.
We got to throw down the gauntlet. If we're going to be different, we're going to be different. And we're going to have to show the world that we mean business.
And that risk-taking is ultimately about making an auto manufacturer recognizable and successful. So if Japanese car makers have mastered the art of designing concepts that are all about total fun, then take a look at one automaker that wrote the book on total performance. Everybody's heard of them. Mercedes-Benz. Founded in 1924, this legendary German car maker has always strived for high-end luxury and cutting-edge performance that keeps the driver in mind, especially in this car. You want something no one else can drive? Something just for you? Then hop into the strange-looking moonshot, the F300 Life Rocket. It may look like one of the most insensible cars you've ever seen, but what it's done for the technology of driving is invaluable. You're not seeing things. The suspension is turning into corners just like a skier on a slalom run. This very personal concept car was the study model for a brand new prototype that unveils a whole new way of looking at driving.
The future of the automobile you won't find in crystal balls like this. You'll find it in our F400 carving.
It's a head turner for sure. Check out how these doors open. Get in and take it for a spin. You'll feel like you're in a James Bond movie with open wheel wells and sports car styling that harkens back to another era. But where the rubber meets the road, this car is all about the future. In this animation, you can see that when the vehicle hits a corner, one side of the suspension folds into the curve, while the other stays perfectly aligned. It replicates a skier carving into a snowy hillside to take unbelievably sharp turns. The result of this technology? Let's just say if the car were an Olympic skier, it would be getting a gold medal for performance. There's no doubt concept car designers are making handling and horsepower a top priority. And Daimler Chrysler, the parent company of Mercedes-Benz, has shown the world it can cover the gamut of what drivers want in a vehicle, especially American drivers. Maybe you've thought about it. Lying on a beach, catching the ultimate wave. Well, travel here to Miami, Florida, to the trend-inventing South Beach, where models and beach bums meet to live the perfect lifestyle. But when you're cruising Ocean Drive on your way to soak up the sun, you just might be able to do it in this.
I like the wood panel because I like it woody.
It might look like the old-school wood-cover station wagons that surfers made famous, but the Dodge Kahuna is all about present-day partying.
It's about people who want to get out, enjoy life, enjoy nature, and they don't want any boundaries between them and the rest of the world.
If you thought all car designers were just nerds with pocket protectors and a knack for numbers, you haven't met Jordan Meadows. He's one of a whole new breed of designers that's obsessed with making cars functional and fun.
Sitting on $3.5 million of a corporation's money right here, and there's nothing like it.
$3.5 million. But the designers needed that kind of cash flow to give consumers a look at the wave of the future.
It has a feel that is very California. And I think we're starting to see a little bit of that creeping back in with California leading design for the U.S. and bringing that back into the mainstream.
All the glass drops. You know, when you're in a minivan today, you're in this little cage. Here, there's no pillars. Check that out. Remember the cars in the 50s? Those old Woodies that everybody loved so much? Great materials. Here it's lacewood, aluminum, and it's real too. You know, that's classic American craftsmanship. It's not just cool on the outside, but we got some great functionality on the inside too. All of these seats drop down. They form a wave, which kind of keeps your luggage where it needs to be. Bungee cord holders, cup holders.
One look at the Kahuna, and you're gonna realize that concept cars are all about taking what you thought you knew about the driving experience and turning it on its ear.
What do you guys think? You like it? Yeah?
But why not present this car at an auto show, just like everyone else?
Problem with auto shows is you have a very isolated kind of environment where the car is static, it doesn't move, and people can't even touch it or experience it.
Step right up to it.
Yeah.
And when people touch a real vehicle in the real world, they've got a real opinion.
When people come up and talk about the car, I mean, that's really what it's all about. Concept cars are experimental.
It should be a four-wheel drive because you can take this right onto the beach and then dump your boards and go riding.
Yeah, this is all great to hear. I mean,
yeah,
you get good ideas.
Yeah.
The Kahuna designers definitely want to hear what you've got to say. But if you see the Kahuna on your street, remember.
No, don't do that.
This car is worth $3.5 million. Coming up, feel the intense torque with some of the most powerful prototypes you've ever seen. Also, concept cars are designed to let you take a peek into the future. But the automotive industry's ambition to show you what might be has a radical history too. Beginning with famed auto designer Harley Earl's Buick Y-Job, concept cars have always tried to show consumers the excitement in the possibilities of technology and design. The use of concept cars as a tool to demonstrate the future has resulted in hyperspeed advancements in style and technology. But concept cars are really about the bottom line, making you want to buy something even better than what you have in your garage right now. And today's concepts have more elegance, more style, and more muscle than you've ever dreamed. And auto designers are the brains behind the brawn. Today, a new generation of concept designers, like the ones at Daimler Chrysler, are leading the charge in making hot rods mainstream. Especially with this bulked up concept. It's called the Airflight, and it looks like it's straight out of a kid's comic book. Why?
I'd say the average age in the design office is probably about 33. It's pretty young for a design office, which is cool.
It's a modern version of Art Deco, if you want Neo-Deco. It's got the very streamlined, tight design, the use of speed lines on the hood, which is very much a Deco design theme. It uses the cool metals to give an ambiance to the interior.
It's very simple yet like futuristic, like everything about it.
But no matter how cutting edge this car is, with its long front end, snubbed back end, and rear wheel drive, the Airflight is still old school muscle car. Listen to that muffler for even 1 second, and you'll realize that this beefy machine is just one of a new breed of vehicle that is throwing out what you thought you knew about how a car should look and feel. The Dodge Razor, the Super 8 Hemi, the Chevy SS, the Chrysler Crossfire, all muscle, all the time. But what if your vehicle had so much power that it wasn't an engine on wheels, it was an engine with wheels?
I think, quite honestly, when it comes to crazy concepts, the Chrysler Tomahawk has got to be one of the craziest that have been around for a while.
500 horsepower and 2 wheels in front. The people that built it for Chrysler and Dodge did a magnificent job if you look at the workmanship and the detail in the vehicle itself.
If it looks like it's just one big motor, that's because it is. But you won't find this engine in even the most high-powered Harley. How many cylinders do you think this double-wheeled mean machine has? 4, 6, 8?
It has 10 cylinders. It's an 8-liter. It's the latest version of our Viper engine.
What powers this came out of this, the world-famous Dodge Viper. By this point, you may be asking yourself one question: why?
When you think about it, we're a car company. We don't do motorcycles. The fact that the 2 top guys gave it the green light says a lot about their vision and their ability to see that far ahead. It is a good investment for us. It's a good marketing tool.
It was created to get excitement for Dodge, and it did exactly that. And it really does that when you fire it up in the middle of a car show. Everybody comes running because they want to see what this 10-cylinder motorcycle is all about.
The design intent with this project was probably first and foremost to package this huge motor in a way that was aesthetically acceptable as well as ergonomically functional. And also, the character of this motor being what it is, big, brutal beast, I tried to let that come through in the lines and the shapes.
Most everything that's not motor is polished aluminum, even the wheels. But don't go calling the Dodge Tomahawk a motorcycle just yet.
It's technically not a bike because it has 4 wheels.
And those wheels are like nothing you've ever seen. Watch closely how each one leans independently into a curve. Now you might be wondering what kind of rubber those 4 hubs can lay out.
At 1,500 pounds, it will do 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. Theoretically, it tops out at about 300 miles an hour.
And with that kind of horsepower right at your fingertips, the Tomahawk is more than just unforgettable.
What it feels like to ride, all that power, comes on really quick, actually, at will. And there's one word for it, and that's addictive. And anybody who doesn't understand why do something like this need only get on it and twist this.
Whether it's power, performance, or sheer innovation, concepts push the boundaries of imagination. And if you come here, to the hills of Pasadena, California, you'll find a place where it all begins, at the Art Center College of Design, a world-famous art school with an intensive design program. Designers start here when they're passionate about innovative automobiles.
I think I've seen some people cry. I think I cried once.
If you want to do automotive design, this is the most hardcore program that you can involve yourself in.
Generally, I'm here all the time. I don't really have a life anymore.
And in this serious design studio, students build prototype models just like the professionals. And their final projects end here, with scale-sized concept cars presented to the entire industry.
The translation between the paper and the actual 3D model it's kind of inspirational, I guess you would say.
But there's a lot to do between paper and glossy models like these. Hundreds of hours go into making just one of these innovative models. But the high-intensity program at Art Center has produced some of the most well-known designers today, including the person who designed the new Volkswagen Beetle, and the Ford 49 concept car, and this brand new Mustang.
I think there's no doubt that he's considered one of the finest designers in the world, along with another dozen.
I've been extremely lucky. A friend of mine, Ed Golden, says I have the fortunate attribute of always being able to fall up.
Legendary car designer Jay Mays also designed this car.
500 horsepower, 500 foot-pounds of torque, wrapped in a classic body shell that's arguably one of the most beautiful mid-engine cars of all time.
They displayed a show car, which was the Ford GT40. Once again, the public went crazy. They yelled in unison in Chicago and in Detroit and you name where, build it.
The people around the vehicle just kept telling us to build the car.
And they did. If you thought creating a scale model of a concept car was difficult, watch the time-lapse for the clay model of the GT40. Forget your everyday enamel paint. That polymer skin can be rubbed on, then adjusted to smooth out any imperfections. And if the final concept looks familiar, that's because it's a brand new version of a champion.
A car that's arguably the most famous Ford ever is the GT40 that won Le Mans in 66, 67, 68, and 69.
Race day at Le Mans.
And that was really important for the country. I mean, we were not only going to space at that point, we were going to take on the world of racing.
The candy-colored Fords are the fastest, with 6 of the top 10 starting positions.
After performance builder Enzo Ferrari rejected Henry Ford's attempt to purchase the Italian automaker, Ford Motor Company built its own high-performance car. And in 1969, at a record-breaking 217 miles per hour, the GT40 left every Ferrari it took on in the dust. This four-time winner of one of the world's most famous races disappeared into automotive history until Jay Mays took the lead in convincing Ford to redesign the GT40 into a concept car, and now into a production vehicle.
We're reintroducing what is a vehicle that I simply think can't be improved upon, but we're putting modern mechanicals, modern safety, modern engineering, and putting it at a price, although very expensive, is in the world of supercars actually a bargain.
And what is a bargain for a supercar?
It's obviously going to be a vehicle that costs well over $100,000.
Mario Andretti equals that mark in his Ford Mark IV.
This car doesn't have a typical business plan. It was more for creating an image and an aura and recreating some history.
There's the checkered flag. It's an all-American win.
The GT40 may look like an old favorite, but it proves that designers who build concept cars can determine what you drive when you go to work or when you're on vacation. And as long as designers are thinking up innovative and exciting ways to let you travel where you want to go, the auto industry will continue to grow and change.
There aren't that many great automotive designers in the world. There's a handful, but those handful of designers usually have a team of very hungry young designers under them that are continuing to drive them forward and make them look for new solutions that are going to please customers. So kids coming out of school today have got to be obsessed with what I always call cutting the old man's knees off.
I want to create things that have a strong emotional impact on people in a positive way. Whatever it is, I want to create it hardcore.
I just would like to see my design out there. I'd like to see it affect somebody in some way, so that 50 years later, to somebody, it could be a classic.
Concept cars are the brains. In studios around the world, car makers design, test, and build just a handful of concept vehicles every year, like this Chevrolet SSR concept pickup truck. And here, at the GM Design Center in Warren, Michigan, state-of-the-art computer modeling allows designers to analyze and change designs in advanced environments like this, where life-size 3D computer models of concept cars can be studied even before they're built. But this secret design center isn't open for tours. In fact, they don't want you anywhere near the place.
There's a tremendous effort placed on confidentiality and secrecy in the marketplace because it's so competitive.
With billions of dollars in new car sales at stake each year, automakers are in constant battle for your loyalty. That's why the latest advancements in concept technology and design are treated with extra care.
The concepts are the crown jewels of the company in many ways, and you don't want them to know even what you're thinking, so you keep that locked down as tight as you can.
I think the secrecy is very, very important. It adds to the excitement.
And in this 18-wheeler, there's one vehicle that was kept so top secret, just a few engineers and designers even knew of its existence. It's a make of automobile that has always represented the finer things in life.
This car is destined to be a classic.
The whole car is about premium, the ultimate of everything.
Hear the name, see the logo, and two things come to mind: luxury and power. And Cadillac may be one of the best when it comes to its concept cars, especially with this.
I think the Cadillac 16 was a interesting and bold statement. It has some terrific styling cues to it, and it's gotten a tremendous amount of attention for Cadillac, which is exactly what they intended to do when they created it.
Very dramatic proportions, long hood, long wheelbase, big wheels, short overhangs. It's very wide and low.
Based on groundbreaking Cadillac concept cars from just a few years ago, like the innovative Evoque, the Cadillac 16 also gets its look from one car that's over 70 years old.
You can see various cues of this car from Cadillacs of the past.
Believe it or not, this is only one of 3 1931 convertible Cadillacs known to exist, and it was a major inspiration for the new version. On the outside, they may not seem alike, but take a look at this number, and take a look at this number, and take a look under this clamshell hood, and this clamshell hood, and the relationship is obvious.
Many people ask, why we did the 16-cylinder engine.
Not 8, not 10, not even 12, 16 cylinders. And if the number of pistons doesn't make you take notice, then look a little closer. 1,000 horsepower makes this Cadillac engine one of the most potent power plants to ever come out of Detroit.
It's a legitimate 16-cylinder engine and not a copy or a cobbled-together piece.
And if you think this aluminum-skinned, glossy black thoroughbred is the ultimate on the exterior and under the hood, then you might want to take a look at the interior, too.
Really, you're just swathed in wonderful materials like Tuscany leather, burl walnut everywhere, and a silk carpet that you hardly want to have your shoes touch. Really an exquisite place to be.
And if a genuine Bulgari clock doesn't make you drool, then take a closer look at the steering wheel and you'll know you're experiencing one of the finest concept vehicles ever built.
When you first sit in the car, you can't help but be taken by the crystal badge in the steering wheel.
How much would you pay for a piece of cut crystal like this? Try $8,000. It's just another one of the details in this car that's designed to make you believe one thing.
This is a car that's, just monumental in scale.
Concept cars are all about elegance, styling, power, and now, this. Coming up. When you think about some of the most advanced concept automobiles, you probably think about performance, power, styling. But car makers aren't just working on how to do 0 to 60 in 4 seconds flat. They're also figuring out how to do the right thing.
Petrochemicals eventually, fossil fuels, are eventually going to start running out. We don't know when, but the experts agree that it's a finite amount and that eventually we will run out.
Since automobiles were first invented, people have been looking for alternatives to gasoline to get them from point A to point B. But what if the byproduct of you traveling across the country wasn't toxic exhaust, but something a whole lot better?
It's a zero-emissions hydrogen engine. Water drips out of the tailpipe. You could drink that water, it's so clean.
Fuel cells, like the ones found in the Toyota Fine S concept car, are changing the way people look at powering their vehicles.
This is Honda's hydrogen refueling station. It's a futuristic concept, and it's based on generating hydrogen from a renewable source, mainly sunlight. We take sunlight from the solar panels, we generate electricity. From the electricity, we break apart water into hydrogen and oxygen. And from the hydrogen, we store it in the station, and then we use that to fuel our fuel cell vehicle.
And it's not just sunlight that can make hydrogen. There are a variety of ways to produce this efficient fuel.
The method that's used prevalently today is to take natural gas, which is predominantly methane, and do what's called a steam shift reaction, where you add high-pressure water to the methane, and you get a lot of hydrogen coming off.
Once extracted, the hydrogen is contained in tanks. When you need to fuel, drive to a hydrogen service station and fill up just like gasoline. And why switch from gasoline to hydrogen?
The big advantages with hydrogen, number one, is you get up to 25% greater efficiency from a hydrogen internal combustion engine than you do from a gasoline internal combustion engine. The emissions are reduced 99% plus.
And now, Ford Motor Company has joined the revolution, using this alternative power source in a brand new concept car.
The Model U is really a project that we did to have a very serious look at how cars are produced, the type of engines that they will need in the future.
The hydrogen-powered Model U is the latest in alternative power. But look closely at the stylized body, and you'll see something you won't find on any other vehicle. All the body panels are recyclable. But when you're done with the car, don't bother taking it down to your local plastics recycling plant.
It's all soy-based materials, both in the fenders, the seats, corn-based tires with very little carbon in them.
Even the rollaway canvas top looks good enough to eat. The Model U takes renewable resources in automobiles to a whole new level.
The entire car becomes cradle to cradle as opposed to cradle to grave car. And so it turns out to be an entire cycle of life that the car can go right back into the ground when we're finished with it. It's a very exciting concept and one actually that's quite realistic.
And it proves with new alternative power source vehicles like the Model U, concepts aren't just about creating the most opulent cars on the planet. They're also about saving the planet.
The car is as clean as a field of corn because it's actually made out of a field of corn.
It just goes to show you, you can have your dream car and eat it too. Coming up, the line between fantasy and reality is blurred. We'll see some of the concept cars may let you dream bigger than you've ever imagined about how you're going to travel in style. But what do the biggest auto manufacturers do when they want to drive their imaginations wild? They come here, to Zumikon, Switzerland. But if you thought this tiny European country was all about cuckoo clocks and cheese with holes in it, then you haven't traveled here, to Rinspeed, where concept builder Frank Rinderknecht has created a supercharged empire designing some of the most experimental concept cars ever built.
People considered me to be crazy, to be outrageous. They forecasted an end to come soon, either being broke or going out of business or whatever. And we're in the comfortable situation now that people are really almost expecting it and looking forward for next year what's to come up.
Rinspeed builds custom cars for wealthy individuals, but they also partner with manufacturers to experiment with new features and new concepts. And here may be one of the strangest you've driven. Ever come across that hard-to-find parking spot only to discover that it's just a little too small for your car? Rinspeed has a solution. It's no illusion. That car is getting smaller. It's called the Presto. And it's one of a stable of Rinspeed concept cars that push the limits of auto innovation.
A prototype should open a door to a vision. Should open a door to what the future could bring, maybe in a different way, but made us think.
Like this. It may appear to be a high-speed sports car, but push a button, and this vehicle becomes something else altogether.
The Bedouin, a retractable roof to transform a station wagon basically into a pickup truck.
And the interior is as unusual as the outside. It's got a cowboy theme. A rawhide interior. Even the Western-looking seats spell out Rinspeed in rhinestones. It's just one of the features that has allowed the Swiss concept maker to lead the way in designing some of the most unusual multi-use cars you've ever seen.
I create the concept and then I have a very good, very efficient team of designers and technicians, and the rest is teamwork.
And this team just might be crazy. Where's that yellow car going? It's heading toward a body of water. No, this isn't an amphibious vehicle. But what it does do will make you want to hit the sand right now.
People turn around and say, wow, what is this? Does it fly?
Just hit a button and a hoist lifts out another vehicle you might not expect to see on any beach anywhere. It's not a jet ski. Get your motor blowing. It's your own personal hydrofoil. You may be asking yourself, what would drive a person to want to make concept cars like these for a living? The answer is simple.
yeah, I'm curious and I want to see what I'm able to perform and what I'm able to do, and that keeps me going.
In the race to be the first, the fastest, the most stylish, car makers look to all sorts of places to experiment with their latest designs.
I think there's an uncanny resemblance about what our design team does and what a film director does. And when I talk about an emotional world, that's exactly what a film director is doing when they create a movie. So the emotional backdrop for a movie or the emotional backdrop for an automobile is essentially the same. I have automotive design friends that were in the auto industry and now work in the movie industry.
I didn't fit in very well in the car industry in terms of, my working style and what I wanted to, sort of where I was aspiring to go and what I was trying to do. I fit in a little better in the movie industry.
Nick Pugh builds cars for the movies. He also built this, the Zeno, a natural gas-powered jaw-dropper you won't see on any car lot. Take one look at this intergalactic-looking vehicle, and you may nod your head. Or you may shake your head. Either way, Nick Pugh doesn't really care.
It may not appeal to everybody, and it really isn't supposed to appeal to everybody. It's supposed to just appeal to one person, because each individual person's vision can be realized in a unique form. So it really represents the possibility of extreme individualism.
And this young designer has taken that extreme philosophy to the extreme. Would you believe he'll help you build your very own personal concept car?
I think that the most best comparison, or the most logical comparison, would be to that of a client and an architect. At the end of the first design phase part of the process, I would produce a finished digital rendering of what their car would look like with them standing next to it. And it's a photorealistic painting or illustration.
Nick's celebrity clientele includes film director Roman Coppola. Believe it or not, he's standing in front of a digital rendering, not a real car. His own personal sports limousine concept vehicle.
And it's a very sort of stealthy, quiet car, very almost like comes in at the end of the night and comes in like a shiny shadow and drops you off and then disappears into the night.
You can stay happy with the illustration, or if you have a few $100,000, Nick will finish off your vehicle just the way you like it.
It's like the process of coming up with something from nothing and having an idea in your head and then seeing it real and getting to use it is really very rewarding. It's very fun. And I would encourage people to look at that side of it rather than all the struggle and cost.
Concept cars are all about the advancement of performance, style, and technology. In fact, the future might just mean that anybody can design their own car from scratch. And some of these vehicles won't be built, they'll be grown. Whether it's traveling in tomorrow's super techno boxes, rolling down the highway in the newest style and performance, or getting behind the wheel of a retro futuristic power performer, there's little doubt that concept cars are built by people, for people who love dreaming about cars.
We're actually trying to tug on the heartstrings of the customers, and usually the ones that are the most successful are the ones that do that in probably the most emotional way.
The ones who make the money are the bold thinkers. They're the ones who go out there and say, you know what, I like this car. This car is important. It pushes all the buttons as far as we can tell. We're just going to build it. Those are the cars that inevitably, whether they're great successes in the number they sell, they're always the ones that you remember.
The best thing I can say for the car business is, thank goodness people care. If nobody cared what the next model looked like, if the love affair was gone, it'd be pretty dull around here.
Get a fourth job to get me the G35.
Yeah, we'll see.